Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flozanes, your empowerment strategist and producer. Thank you for downloading today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about the teachings from the Mayan sacred feminine. If you are a man listening to this, I invite you to continue for no other reason than to get a glimpse of what it's like for your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your daughter, your best friend, anyone in your life, your wife who is a woman and struggles with their own creativity and power and sexual essence. This book has been in my life for a long time. Shout out to Jeannie Peters for giving it to me many years ago. And I have probably read it twice all the way through. I'm on my third right now. And I'm feeling really called at this moment to dive a little deeper with it and share it with you on another podcast that I have called Releasing the Goddess Within. It's my diary show. And I stopped it for a very specific reason or two, and I am vowing now to pick it back up because I want to not be conditional and not just reflect back what's going on in the world or what's going on with clients or with people. I want it to be this journey into the sacred feminine. That's why I started the show. The reason why this book has resurfaced in my life is because I have been working with the first Rewiring Your Core Wound Pattern program ladies, and we did our first 3 months, and then they didn't want to stop. So I created a little bit of an extension. So they're on to the 4th month and soon to be the 5th month of that program. And somewhere between the 3rd and 4th month, what became apparent to me was this need of respect and enveloping and living a deeper connection to our feminine power. I'm going to talk about that a lot today on today's show with Shonagh Home. If you're a woman who battles with anxiety, depression, you work in a masculine environment, you're always on, you're always linear, you're always in your head, and your body is trying to tell you things, whether it be that you have things that are going on with you in a menstrual way or ovarian or uterine or anything that's in the lower jaw, lower back, hip pain. I'm here to say it's time to re-embrace and get to know your true center of power. And I brought the book up in the Rewiring Your Core Wound Pattern program because I wanted those ladies to get the book. And of course, I went on to try to find it and it was out of print. So I decided to reach out to Shonagh, which I have before, and say, hey, I need you to put this book up on Kindle, please, because I'm trying to sell it to my clients. I really want to do the work with them. And can you do that? And of course, she wrote back right away and said yes, and got on a call with me to record today's podcast. Today's going to be the last invitation for you. If you are the program is open for women and men, and we don't do all women things. In fact, it's all very neutral. This is the only time I've brought up more something feminine that's taking into consideration our sexual and creative power in our center, in our gut, in the most powerful area of our bodies that we have, of course. So if you're somebody out there and you've been thinking about, it's time for a shift, it's time for a change, I'm ready to deepen who I am. I'm ready to really appreciate who I am, know who I am, understand my power. I'm ready to really understand and honor that. I invite you. There are 2 spots left for Rewiring Your Core Wound Patterns that starts in a couple weeks from now. It's the last time I'm going to do it this year, and I don't know when I'll do it again next year. I'm sure I will because it's fucking awesome and people are getting results because we use all kinds of tools. It's very personalized about what it is that you do. We all follow the same curriculum, but everyone's journey is different. And so different tools will be used for different people. But I'll tell you this Isha wisdom, these 7 teachings from the Mayan sacred feminine plus other sacred feminine practices will be more integrated into all of the work that I do because I'm tired of seeing women give their power away all the time. Women who won't invest in themselves. You might think, oh, but it's expensive. Okay, where else do you spend money? I'm sure you spend money in other places, and tell me this, are the things that you're spending money on making you a better person? Are they unlocking and unleashing your power and your creativity and releasing any pain and stuck emotions that you've been holding on to? If the answer is no, then that to me means nothing. Aren't you the best investment you have? Isn't your life and your happiness and your body and your experience on this planet at this time the most important thing? If it's not, then, you can be on your way, because today's show is going to be pretty powerful for those that are seeking to know their power. So I invite you, 2 spots left, jjflizanes.com/rewire, and would love to have you and would love to help you find and own your power. So a little bit about Shonagh. Of Celtic heritage, Shonagh Home follows the wisdom of the ancients and serves as a Ban Draoi and fili, which is Gaelic for Celtic medicine woman, seer, poet. As a modern medicine woman, she brings her connection to nature and the spirit world into her flourishing practice, hosting retreats and working psycho-spiritually with clients from all over the world. She specializes in shadow work, delving into rich territory of the psyche. Shonagh has studied with master teachers for the past 12 years, has apprenticed herself to the mushroom teachers who have led her into profound connection with the spirits of nature and her ancestral roots. She's a published author and hosts the podcast, The Mushroom's Apprentice. Enjoy today's show. Welcome, everyone, to the show today. If you are finding this on the podcast, let me tell you, we did a video. So come on over to jjflizanes.tv so you can meet Shonagh Home. And if you're finding this on YouTube because you're looking for her or the content that she talks about, hi, I'm JJ. What does that mean? It means this is my show. And I'm a producer and empowerment strategist. And so if you don't like me, I'm totally cool with that. If you want more of just Shonagh, where can they find more of just you in case they're not cool with me?
My name's shonaghhome.org is my website. And my email's on there as well. And then I also have a little podcast called The Mushroom's Apprentice. And so
which you can find on her website or her Mushroom Apprentice website. Yes?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And YouTube. You can find you on YouTube also.
Yes, under the Mushroom's Apprentice, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So this interview has been a long time coming. And Shonagh didn't even know this because I told her today that I have been emailing her at least once or twice over the last 10 years since I started the show. And I wanted to have you on when I first started, which was Fit to Love back in 2014. But divine timing as it is, which is fine because it is what it is. We are now here together, and we're going to talk about her very first book, which currently is out of print on Amazon. But I had sent one of the current Rewiring Your Core Wound Pattern group I was recommending 2 books in a discussion that we were having. And it was about femininity, embodying femininity. It was about divine masculine. It was about being led. It was about your body's wisdom. And I picked up 2 books, and Shonagh's was one of them. Isha Wisdom, 7 Teachings from the Mayan Sacred Feminine. I'm trying to read it backwards on the screen. I'm like, no, just read it. It's fine. 7 Teachings from the Mayan Sacred Feminine. And this was a book that was given to me by Jeannie Peters. Shout out to Jeannie, many, many years ago. And it was because of my fibroid issue that I had, which a lot of you have heard about, but you don't actually know the whole story yet because I actually haven't shared it yet. I've been talking about it over the last couple of years, but I haven't really released the entire episode of all of the details and the whole story. But to shorten it, I was having my own, and it was during a very turbulent time. So I knew that this was some of the work that I needed to get into. And my audience is men and women, but it's a lot of people who come from a very scientific, very intelligent, high education. They come and they're wanting information. And I usually get told that I've made something more easily understood, like something spiritual, something law of attraction, something quantum physics. I've made it more easy to understand, maybe in a scientific way. But that left brain part of me and that left brain part of us, those of you that are listening and watching, needs the component of the right brain to coexist and to be fully whole, which we've talked about too. Awaken Your Dream Life. We've talked about whole brain living, and we do some of that work. But there's a deeper level to this. And that is why I wanted to ask Shonagh to come on the show, because I wanted to share her work. Now, her work wasn't available recently because she has, I think, 2 or 3 other books that you've written since this. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. But she's agreed to put it back up. So it's up right now for anybody that wants to download it from her website, shonaghhome.org. And again, the link will be in the show notes or under this video. So with that brief interview to sort of get us here, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to meet you.
Thank you so, so much. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
So I know you're where you've come, like you're in a much different place than you were when you wrote this book. And I know this was like the beginning for you. So I understand that there is a lot more to dive into. Just like 10 years ago when I started my show, I'm in a much different place. I was a personal trainer. I wasn't doing emotional coaching like I'm doing now. I hadn't built any of the programs that I'd done. I had no idea how I was going to show up in the world in a more specific way. And of course, the evolution continues and the expansion continues. And my work will always continue to evolve and expand. So is everybody else's, anyone that's awake on the planet, right? And yours has obviously as well. But I want to take us back to where you were before this, and then what happened to get here. And then I would like to teach the audience and tell, especially all the women and the men, because the men need to understand feminine power and not be afraid of it, and know what a woman might need when she doesn't even know what she needs, and some of the things that a woman might need to embody or practice or look at in order to feel herself. And that has nothing to do with her relationship, has nothing to do with her children, has nothing to do with the world. It's just her in her own divine feminine. So with that, Shonagh, take us back.
Oh my goodness. Well, all right. I guess I'll start. First of all, I will say that as a child, I was very psychic. I was claircognizant, which is the knowing. You just know when something is going to happen. And so I didn't know what that was. So I called it confirmations. That was the strongest word I could think of. And I was also clairsentient. I could feel. And so I had that ability. And then, went to school and focused on all the other stuff you do. And it really wasn't until the age of 40 when my marriage to the father of my two daughters collapsed. And that sent me into crisis. And dear friend, my late teacher, Dr. Ban Draoi, used to say, crisis awakens. And so that was a huge awakening for me. And I questioned everything. And a couple of years, about a year and a half later, I met my husband my next husband, John, who's a gem. And he was studying with Dr. Ban Draoi. And so that was my first foray into actually working with teachers. I didn't even know you could do that. And I recognized him right away as a teacher. And I became a voracious student of the mystery. And in my work with Brew, he was very Jungian. And so that was my first introduction to Jung and Edward Edinger and Marie-Louise von Franz. And I developed such a curiosity and a love and a kind of awe for the mystery of the psyche. And so I went in very deep with that and continue to do so today. And then it was a few years later that we ended up going to the Yucatan. And we went there with another teacher, but she had partnered with Miguel Angel Vergara, and he is a beautiful shaman and Mayan priest there. And you can still contact him through Illuminato Tours, which is run by Trudy Woodcock. And she's been a student of his for many, many years. And so it was like meeting an old friend with both of them, really. And so that was an extraordinary trip, and it was quite a turning for me. And it was interesting because John was the one who was really interested in the whole sort of Mayan mystery. And I wasn't that interested. I just kind of went with him. And of course, had this extraordinary opening at the temples of Uxmal. And so that clairsentience, I have that sense of feeling. I just brought offerings for the local spirits. All those temples are haunted. And then there's a spirit to those temples. And I toned as a way of not using words, but simply, through intention, just sending this message of respect and gratitude for being there, and was shocked after maybe 5-10 minutes of this piece of then feeling it return back to me. Was absolutely shocked. And so when we got home, I wanted to work more with Miguel Angel. He gave me a gift at the end of that experience, and it was clear he was a teacher. So I went back, and I talk about this in Isha Wisdom, so I was working with him, and then he wanted to take me to this cave, which is by the Temple of Uxmal. And there is a shaman there, Don Jose, who does these little sort of, like, he'll take you in the cave, and I don't know what else he does. But in any case, we were standing outside. He didn't speak English. And so Miguel Angel translated, and Don Jose asked me, why are you here? what is your wish? And I said, I wish to be a guiding light and mentor for women and men. I want to help people. And he said, there is more. And I said, well, the whole reason why I do any of this is because I want to be closer to God. And he looked at Miguel Angel and said, we're going to give her a Mayan baptism. And so we went into this gorgeous cave, and very, very feminine, sort of wet, dripping water, stalactites everywhere. And he took me to this place in the rock where there was dripping water for God knows how long. It had made a depression like a kind of bowl. And that water that is collected is, they call it ITZ, ITZ. And it's very, very sacred water. It's also dew is sacred, semen is sacred. So it contains this energy of ITZ. And so he used that and kind of anointed me and did this Mayan baptism. And then he showed me at some point this area of the cave where he said the Mayan mother goddess Ishel is found there. And again, I'm not clairvoyant, so I don't see, but I felt a presence, and it was very pronounced. And so it was a very touching experience. It was really, it was incredible. When I got out of that, I was very moved. And I was staying in Merida, which is like a little beehive. And I went kind of walking around, then I realized I got to be inside alone. Like I felt completely raw and like I could feel everybody. And so I went back to my hotel room and I just kind of sat with myself and just connected to that experience. And I felt her presence. And so I could feel words coming in, and I had a journal and I wrote what was a transmission from her. Now, this may seem off, to people who aren't kind of familiar with this kind of thing, but really when you think about this, people have been doing this throughout time, right? They would receive an inspiration or words from God or the angels or, the local spirits, whatever it is, right? And they would share it. And it was understood because people were connected to the natural world in a way that they're not today. We're just in a different world. But some of us have maintained kind of that natural connection, and others want to experience that. And so I know there's much more to us than what do you do for a living and, what are you producing and all of this. There's a depth to each and every one of us and a desire to connect in some way to something deeper. And yeah.
The people who listen to my show mostly, and again, this is not people that are new or finding me on YouTube, but I've been teaching quantum physics and law of attraction. So in terms of everyone knows Abraham. So in terms of transmissions, we are used to channelers. And so in being guided and being given information and using yourself as a channel. So that won't be a weird thing for many people. It might be for a few who are finding this for the first time, potentially, who might think it's, well, just stay with us because it's going to go in places, and be open if that's you who is a little bit maybe confused or concerned about what that means. And maybe you're not quite there yet, and that's okay. And maybe this isn't the right time, but maybe allow the seed to be planted and you can revisit it at a time where you're ready to tend to that garden in a different way. I want to ask you a couple questions because you talked about, I love that crisis awakens, because what I've been working with people in deep ways, it scares the shit out of everybody. Right. And you do too in the work that you're doing with your retreats. And, the amount of control, the amount of pain that we hold in our bodies. I mean, I just had a ceremony with myself and broke open to a point where I was like, wow, have I been lying to myself? I have just been lying that I have pain about something, that I'm sad about something, and I've been holding it. And there's just no reason to be holding it. And when you're talking about being closer to God, again, conceptually and our understanding, our intellect can only get us so far. It's somatic, it's experiential, it's it's an alignment and a feeling that you can't think about. You have to have the experience in some way. And it doesn't have to be through the same method. People can have an experience through meditation, through, doing something like jumping off a cliff and doing some kind of, but it's when we're seeking out, when our deeper inner knowing and our inner being is looking for that meaning, for that expression, for that alignment, for that connection in a much bigger way than what's, physically in our experience right now. People gravitate towards, where do I start? What do I do? How do I get there? But it is usually prompted through some kind of crisis. So I want to ask you, prior to the crisis of you're at 40 of having a divorce, what was life like before then? I mean, were you working in corporate America? Were you a mom and a stay-at-home mom? What were you doing?
I was a mom. I was living in New York City in my 30s, and I absolutely loved New York. I was living there in my 20s as well. And I was also doing interior design. So I'd gone to Parsons School of Design and did interior design for a number of years and had two beautiful daughters. And I was interested in this kind of thing, but my focus was elsewhere, obviously. And I thought I would be in New York forever. I got dragged kicking and screaming from New York City by the father of my girls, and he moved us to Seattle. And so I was just 39 when he moved us. And I remember thinking, I'm being stripped. Like everything, life as I know it, has just been stripped away. I don't know anyone here. It's a totally different pace and I don't like it. And, I was miserable there. I was not happy initially. But then, of course, it turned into such an amazing experience because I met really incredible people there and I grew exponentially. So obviously meant to be, right? Life, I love that expression, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans or tell her your plans, right? So I was not meant to stay in New York City for the rest of my life. And now there's no price you could pay me to ever live there or any city ever. I love being rural. And so in any case, yeah, that.
And you're still in Seattle?
No. Actually, then that's a whole other story. I left Seattle in 2019 when my younger daughter graduated high school and I moved to Vermont. And that was something I manifested. It's a really magical story. And I was there for 3 years during sort of the COVID stuff. And it was perfect because I was way rural and just away from all the cray. And then one of my retreat clients invited me to live on her alpaca farm in Northern Virginia. This was last year. And I took her up on it. And I thought I was in my forever home in Vermont. And now I am so happy here. And I'm by the base of the Shonagh Mountains and it's lush and green and it's absolutely beautiful. So, and it's also a big deal because I turned 60 this year. And so to take a chance like that and leaving the so-called security of owning a home and being able to grow food and, being in a safe area, I just went for it. I knew it was meant to be. And so here I am and very happy and much easier for my retreat clients to fly here and my daughters as well. So it worked out. So life is crazy, mysterious, I must say.
Oh yeah. When I have to ask when your birthday is or was?
April 3rd.
Oh, you're an Aries.
Yes, Aries, Leo moon and Virgo rising.
Oh, Leo moon. We have a new Leo moon coming tomorrow. Yeah. As of the recording of this, Leo moon and a Virgo rising. I feel your earth. But I love knowing you're an Aries. That's fantastic, actually.
I'm a warrior.
Yeah. So let's talk about Mayan sacred feminine, and one more question about sort of your past. You had sort of the desire and you had sort of curiosities, but what was your relationship to God, to a religion, to spirituality before your divorce?
I was sent to a small convent school run by nuns in Toronto when I was young. Yeah. From pre-kindergarten through 7th grade. And then we moved to the States. And I never jibed with the Catholic thing. I found the priests, at least the ones that I met throughout my life, remote. Like I just never got it. But I loved Mama Mary. And I just loved her. And so I was very close to her and would pray to her. And I tried to like go back to church, especially when we moved to the Seattle area, because we were in Capitol Hill and there was this beautiful church, St. Joseph's. And my daughter went to a little Montessori school within their Catholic school, even though it wasn't affiliated. So then I would drop her off and go into church, and there was a beautiful statue of Mama Mary. And I would go every morning and talk to her and then go home and take care of my wee daughter. And so I did have a spiritual life, a really like deeply personal, very close relationship to the mother. Yeah.
And just to be clear, the crisis was the divorce.
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure because
yeah, I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be a single mother at the age of 40. And I didn't have my interior design career. It never came together for me in Seattle. And so, I was a mama to my daughters, but I really was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I actually tried real estate. I got my real estate license and I hated it. Oh my God, what I could never. Yeah. So that didn't last very long. And then I met my next husband, and I was very blessed that he really wanted me to work with these teachers, and he was incredibly supportive. And so that was my focus. So my 40s were very formative and have brought me to where I am today. So very graced, really graced. Yeah.
Hey, so just the relatability for people that aren't, your path and where they are in their path. And I think it's important for people to know where someone comes from, just because, again, that relatability, and also that not everybody is sort of born into having curiosity. Sometimes life, makes that happen because the path that you're on wants you to divert, because the things that you want are not on the path that you're on. But they're great teachers. Every point along the way has a sacred contract that you created before you got here. So you're learning your lessons along the way, and we need them. We need these traumas. We need these crises. That's what gets us. I have a current client right now who's in a crisis. And while she has been doing all of what she thinks is the right work, it's still surface level. It's still intellectual. It's still based in a fear, not necessarily in an exploration of how do I unleash all of the stuff that's in my body that I've been holding on to my whole life. How do I get to the place where I feel safe in the world when I've never felt safe before? How do I have that experience? And so, it's the embodiment piece that I'm wanting people to really understand, which is why I suggested your book to my current group, because I do have them in the understanding, because the brain is your computer. You're still going to look at the world and interpret things. So we have to still be able to look out and reinterpret something differently or see it differently. And we can go from the inside out and we can go from the outside in. Both will work. And I think both are needed. But there are times where that concept of feeling needs more. And anyway, so back to the feminine, because again, I wanted to just really, because I just feel like we're so removed from women in general. And I'm going to say myself included to a certain degree. I've been doing this work, and I've been honoring myself and doing the things. And can I do more? Sure, I probably could. But I'm not afraid. I'm a Pisces with a Sagittarius moon and a Sag rising. I have the curiosity that never quits. And I have the heart and the emotion. When I just had my own, I was testing out dosages of things, and for other people coming, and I had only gone to a certain level with different medicines, and I opened a door that I was like, oh, and even though I was releasing a lot of pain, at the same time I was taking deep breaths. I was like, oh, this is what's been in the way. Oh, this is why, welcome back body. Because as I tell people on my show and who I work with, if you're not crying or screaming every 3 to 4 months, you're emotionally constipated. Life causes us to interpret things that may cause pain or activate pain. There's a sort of a detox of emotional things. And most people are deathly afraid of feeling, deathly afraid of crying. They think they're going to die. And as a Pisces, I'm like, no, it's so cathartic. Allowing yourself to be broken open is life. And and if you don't invite it in, it will find you through the crisis, through the whatever that you manifest. And so this part of that, especially for women, if you're not in touch with that part of you, if you're not okay with, and as I was like descending, if you will, or ascending on my journey, I didn't go further. I could have, and I will, because I saw the door and I was like, oh yeah, we need to go down a little bit deeper. We need to go down that rabbit hole a little bit more and keep going. But I had a very specific reason I was doing this, and a very specific time frame, and a very specific amount that I was working with. So, but I saw the cave, and I saw, oh, I want to go down there. I want to go down into the cave, into the cavernous areas of my own self, my own soul, and extract any blockages, extract any pains that I'm holding for no good reason. And again, some of that to me embodies feminine energy, the feminine power of our emotions, even though it's masculine too. You guys have it too. Everybody has, but it's the most powerful force, this sacred feminine and sacred masculine of our emotions. And I think that while where we're going to go in this conversation, and where you are with your work and where I'm in with my work, is having some aids to get there and having some deeper wisdoms to guide us. But the practices that you talk about in this book are a good place for people to start, for women to start getting in touch with and embracing that part of ourselves. So this book was mostly a transmission from different teachings while you were there, or a combination of while you were there and when you left?
Well, I had the one transmission when I was there. And then I went home, and I was working with another teacher, John Knowlton, who would come to our house for 2 years. And there were 4 weekends each year that a group of 10 of us would gather, and he would teach. And so he would stay with us, and he'd come a couple days before he actually, began the weekend. And so I had recently returned home, and he said, boy, whatever they initiated you in, he said, it's not going to go away. Like you got this. And I said, I know, I can feel that. And I said, I really feel like I need to do a full moon ceremony, that I need to call some women who I know and do this. And I said, I'm thinking next month. And he said, I think this month. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I mean what I said. You need to do it this month. Get her done. And there was a full moon in a couple of weeks. And so I put an email out to, 20 some odd women who I knew, and was absolutely blown away to receive this barrage of emails from these women saying, oh my goodness, I'm in. And also shocked that the maybe 2 or 3 couldn't make it. And how, like, whatever, you just blow it off, you don't come. No. They sent me an email saying, I'm so sorry, I actually can't make this, but please let me know if you do this again. I was really surprised. And so before the full moon ceremony, I sat in meditation, and I asked Ishelle if she might have a message. That's all I set out to do. And again, the words came pouring through. And so I wrote them down, and then everyone came and did this ritual. We were in circle. And then I shared the message that came through, which is the first transmission in that book. And then essentially just passed the rattle, and we each, just shared how we felt about that. And then it happened again the following month. I held another full moon ceremony. I asked her again. So I ended up with 7 of these. And after 7 months, I got the sense from her, you need to take this beyond your backyard. And I realized that's a book. And so I had a wonderful woman who had been a student of Brew, my teacher, for 2 decades. And so she's an editor, Sherry Fulb. She's passed away now, but she was instrumental in helping me. I'd never written a book before. And she just helped me greatly. And I refer to that book as a love letter for women, because it's very simple and I think very profound. I mean, it's funny because I hadn't read it in a while. And so when you contacted me, I thought, let me take another look at that book, because also another friend of mine who helps me said, I just read through that book again. That's a gorgeous book. Just gorgeous. She said, get that back on your site. She said, I was like, all right. I actually have a publisher who published my book, Love and Spirit Medicine, which focuses on my first year of what became monthly mushroom journeys. That was when I was 48. And they want to publish my other book, Poetic Whispers from the Green Realms, which I'm working more on. But I was thinking, I think I need to give this book to them and just have them publish it, because it's kind of like, it's like kind of a classic book in a sense, just that it's just in its simplicity. And it really, like, I could feel that feminine energy. I could feel Mama Ishel in that book.
Well, even in you just saying that, sorry, I'm breathing in this mother healing, which was part of my own journey recently. And it was sort of the awareness of the crack that I have been holding on to. And I think that regardless of anyone's story, regardless of anyone's situation, or, you know, their relationship with their mother or mother figures, I think that inner mother, that godly mother, that spirit mother, that earthly mother, that all that is mother is really kind of what I get from your book, in terms of that's where to start. It's not necessarily fixing a relationship. It can be, but it doesn't, but it shouldn't be just that, because when we're so focused on our circumstances and controlling our circumstances and the people around us, and then we're missing the point of the big picture. We're missing the point of our divine connection. And that's why I recommended this book, because so often we're still keeping score about our worth, about our power, about our like purpose and beingness, as like, why are we here? What are we doing? By, again, the outside world, whether it be money or relationships or how people like me or don't like me, or, you know, now it's social media, whatever. Like it's, we haven't transcended to live in a space to acknowledge and receive what is already being given to us all the time. And that's where, again, starting with these simple practices in your book, it is a beautiful book. And I've recommended it to many people over the years. And, you know, and this was the first time I felt called to recommend it to a group that I was working with, but it's only because as I've continued to go deeper with groups, because my first group was actually a certification. I had someone tell me years ago, you need to teach people what you do. We need to have more people doing what you do. And I said, I can't teach them what I do. It's my brain. I can't tell you how to think like me. It's literally how I take things and rearrange them and put them together and like create new things and see new patterns. I can't teach that, but what I can teach are the tools that I use. And so then I started a certification, and that went for 2 rounds. And then I said, okay, I'm going to pause on that. But the magic of the group and the magic of the work, and then the work got deeper and the work got deeper and the work got deeper and the work continues to get deeper. And now I'm bringing in this, and I even have a podcast that I started that I stopped. I will return to it, but there's a very good reason why I stopped it, called Releasing the Goddess Within. And it was to go into the sacred feminine work. But there became a part of me that felt a little too still in the world and dealing with just the people in my life, the things in my life. And I hadn't yet deepened this to a place where I could be more expansive. I'm ready to kind of go back, but, and maybe your book will help me to do that. And I can help utilize some of the practices to share that in a bigger way. Again, there is a reason. This isn't like I'm a very committed person. When I start something, I finish it. So I don't, and people know that I juggle a lot of things, in a good way, but obviously with divine timing. I'm ready to write my next book, which is I've been sitting on for 3 years. So let's dive into some of the teachings, and because I do want people to get the book. So I don't want to teach them everything, and I want you to have the book, and I want when to refer to it. What would you think are maybe 3? Let's go over 3 of the most important practices, whether they be the simple ones or the ones that someone goes, what? You want me to do what? Because I'm thinking of that one. But so I'll let you guide yourself into what you think the audience is ready to hear or need, or.
Of course. All right. I will start by saying, on an early mushroom journey, the beings, as I called them, said to me once, there is a user's manual for this mind-body complex in which you find yourself. You've not been given it, but some of you are going to figure it out. So the very first transmission is using the womb, that the womb it's the place of creation, of manifestation. And that we can work with that part of, I mean, my womb is the very definition of woman, womb, man. We have womb and we grow a baby there and it's a big deal. And we can also use that place of incredible creativity to plant an energetic seed, if you will, for something that we want to call forth. And it's not a casual thing. It would be something that, you've given a lot of thought to. It's really important to you. And so this piece came in saying, listen, this womb of yours, it's a big deal. And it's an energy center. And you can use it for more than, the wonders of bringing a child through. And so she explained to, in a sort of more meditative state, to think about what it is that you want to bring to you or create, and imagine it as a seed in the womb space, and think of yourself as pregnant with it. Now we're working with the power of the mind and a visualization and all of this. And then give yourself a time of gestation. So maybe it's 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, however you want to do that. And have your hands on your lower belly, like really act as if you are. And this is, very personal, private piece, that this is pregnant within you. It's gestating within you. And then at some point when the time is right, you're going to birth it. And so she suggests finding a place in nature, if possible, and actually squatting down and I would say sort of prepare the ground, create a ritual space for yourself in whatever way that is. Maybe you do a circle of rose petals and you are squatting within that circle, whatever it is. You create a mandala, whatever comes to mind. And then you energetically birth that and you send it into the earth. You're working with you, almost thinking of like the earth mother as midwife, and she's waiting to catch that which you have created and then nurture it and receive her nurturing back. And so these are very deep, mystical, wondrous ways to connect with the natural world, with our own power. We are nature. So we have access to all of that. So that's the first piece. Yes.
So thank you for that. And I can hear some of the women say, what? You want me to do what? And how am I doing that? I want to address that. That was one of the reasons why I wanted them to get your book and wanted to have this conversation with you. There are many women, I was one of them, who disconnect from that piece. I think you bring it up in the book and maybe you don't,
You're right.
about the fact that especially in the Western world, we do not honor the womb and our creativity and our cycle and our ability to give birth in the way that we need to and the way that we were built to. And in other countries and other cultures, you get celebrated versus most people here disconnect themselves from their period, from their cycle. And then what happens? You get fibroids, you have a hysterectomy, you have problems, you have ovarian cancer, you have uterine cancer, you have cervical cancer. You hold anger in the womb because that's where the place that you store it when you've been wronged or traumatized or something has happened. There's been some kind of crisis, right? Lower back energetically in that area, that second chakra is a place, that liver, where anger is stored. But this disconnection of our femininity, this disconnection of this power, this idea that it's dirty, this idea that it's messy, inconvenient, it's painful. Like these are all misconceptions that people, especially women in this, like anytime I hear anybody that has anything that's going on with a period, oh, I have really bad periods. I go, there is some serious anger and disconnection going on there, and possibly diet and possibly some other things, that chemicals that could be, in there. But we're looking at our relationship with our bodies, our relationship with our power, our relationship with our sacred feminine, which is our womb. And that is the reason why we're having this conversation, because if you're a woman who has issues in your lower jiao, in your second chakra of any kind, I'm going to say right now, this is something that can be starting to heal that by healing the relationship with your womb, the relationship with your body, the relationship with your power center, your power source, and with the gift that you are and the gift that you decided to become when you incarnated in this body. Too many, and that is one of the reasons why for some people in the group, I'm like, okay, you have to read this book, because there's this disconnection. We want to fix it in a masculine way. We want to take the drugs, we want to take the whatever, we want to go to the doctor, we want to have everybody, but yet our whole energy around thinking about our cycles or thinking about our femininity or thinking about our womb comes with pain and baggage and anger and frustration and distaste of yourself and, all the things. And so that's why your book, I feel like, is that the guide to say, here, start to get to know your power in your body, start to heal that relationship, because until you heal that relationship, you may continue to have dysfunction, but it isn't necessarily because it's something physical, it's something energetic. Yes?
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it starts in the energy field anyway. Yeah. So yeah, we're very, we're most people, I think at this point, are divorced from nature and of course from their own body. And we're really raised in this very commercial culture, which is always trying to sell us stuff, whether it's ideologies or products we don't need, to not trust our body. And the thing that I really was most palpable for me when I was working in the Yucatan, and from that very first time of such surprise when I was in that temple of Uxmal and I felt the spirits, is this immense kindness. And this is how Ishel, so I describe her as mother of my heart. So is Mama Mary. I mean, really, when you think about it, like every culture around the world, most cultures had their mother spirit. And she was sacred to them, as was the father as well. Yeah, and I'm not a feminist. I'm all for, hey, let's all work together and be in balance. But this is not politics. It's not political. It's not this kind of no. This is immense kindness, and immense kindness for the self, toward ourselves, and which I think a lot of people are just not accustomed to. And these practices are really about, showering yourself and connecting with this mother spirit. She is she's the weaver, she's mother of fertility and healing. Actually, I'll quickly tell you, let me just find this. There's a wonderful woman in Belize named Rosita Arvigo, and she wrote a superb book called Sastun. And I read that twice. And it's about her apprentice with this Mayan shaman, Don Eligio Panti. And she met him when he was in his 80s. And this guy was a character and he was the real deal. But he told her about Ishel. And this is what he said about Ishel. Oh, I love this. He said, she is the goddess of healing. Women pray to her for fertility, and she brings dream visions to healers and weavers. She is my very best friend. That's what he said. Oh my God.
You send me that?
Sure will. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll do even better. I'll send you the article that Rosita wrote about Ishel, because she created Ishel Farm, and oh God, she's done so much to bring forth this beautiful Mayan wisdom and healing, and she's known also for the massage, the belly massage that the grandmas do in Mexico, those who know how to do this, and it's great for fertility and all kinds of things for the uterus. It's just amazing, this woman's healing. So yeah. And all right, so I'll get to the next one. And the next one, so there's 7 transmissions. The 3 I would pick. So the first one, and then the second one, which is on sacred bathing, because I'm an Aries, I'm ruled by Mars. I am go. I get shit done. I'm always like, you want to get it done, hire an obsessive. And here I am. And so that's really great masculine energy. But the feminine is the chalice. She's receptive. She's magnetic, whereas the masculine is electric. And so that transmission came through on bathing and creating a ritual space, in the bathroom with the tub, and putting in salt, putting in oils, rose petal, flower petal, whatever it is, bringing in a flower, music, scent. And as you get into the bath, to realize that this is an elemental, this is water elemental. And notice how the water caresses every part of your body. No part of you is rejected. And then it just does this beautiful thing where it draws out through the salts any kind of toxins, and you can just kind of let it go in that tub. So I got this beautiful transmission. I was like, oh no, I don't take baths. I can't take baths. Like, I'm a shower person. And even like I'm in and out. I'm not like someone who's in the shower for forever. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. And she suggested 7 of these between each full moon. And so I did. I went for it. And I was so pleasantly surprised. Oh my God, it was so helpful. It was so helpful, but also thinking in terms of, that's right. The water just caresses every part. It doesn't say, ew, I don't like those thighs. No, it just takes you in. It receives you. And then I did a little more research because I'm a natural researcher, and I found Rosita's book on sacred bathing. And I think that was my first introduction to her work. I didn't know who she was before that. And it was a beautiful book. And I opened to this part where she's talking about this whole Mayan ritual. The water was very important. And throughout all different cultures, if you were going to enter the temple, you had to purify. And so that meant either steam or, within a bath or a pool or whatever it was, right? So that is so important also because, and don't take your cell phone in there. I wrote this book 14 years ago, so that we didn't even have them at that point. But this is about you and the water and everything that you have sort of created in that ritual space, which is your little bathroom. And just taking that time, whether it's 20 minutes or a half hour or whatever it is, to do that in a culture where it's like, go, 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 or everyone's on this completely transfixed. No. This is, if you have anything, whatever, you have some nice music, but you're not looking at that Black Mirror thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And we are too attached to all of our devices most of the time. But in terms of, you need the music, bring it in, but don't put it near you in the tub. Right. In fact, the tub is where, we actually just redid a bathroom. I've never done construction before. We bought this house during COVID in 2021. And when I got here and I manifested my dream home and all the things that I wanted in it. But when I looked at the bathroom, the master bathroom, I said, oh no, that's got to go. I mean, there are some projects around, but then, and I was saving up for the guest house, but that still don't have a permit for that. So, as the first year went by, and then we're getting into the second year, and I was like, okay, I can't live like this any longer. We have to do something. So I said, we have enough money to do the bathroom. And of course I have a beautiful tub, and that was part of it because the guest bathroom has a tub, those stupid tubs where it doesn't even fill, like you can't even be swallowed in by all the water because you're bigger than the tub. Like it doesn't fill up enough to cover you. I was like, oh, this is not comfortable. I need a real tub. I need a real bathroom. And so I went all out. I have a steam shower. I've got a rock wall in front of it. I've got this old look. It is magnificent because for that very reason of enjoying having a bath. I have the pillow. I've got the thing where I have to take paperback books in there if I'm going to read. I feel like that's the time where, yes, nothing electronic in there, but sacred space. But I have definitely fallen by the wayside, so to speak, to not do all the things. And so I'm glad that you reminded me of the 7 between each full moon. So it's not every night. What does that space out to be? Does that space out to be like 2 a week?
Pretty much. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, exactly this many days apart, but just, cause also everyone does have busy schedules, children, whatever it is. Right. So you just kind of make it work.
But the point of all of this is that we have to create space.
Yes, of course. Yes, we do.
And because if you don't create the space, it's going to get taken somehow. Some crisis will force you to take it, is my belief. Because if you don't give yourself space to feel, if you don't give yourself space to receive, if you don't give yourself space just to be, then we're ending up with adrenal fatigue and anxiety and depression and different diseases and broken relationships, because we're not slowing down to be. So I think that if we have to pick things to do, this feels like an easy thing people can do, even if they don't like baths, because you probably have a bathtub. And then it's about, like you said, 15 minutes. That could just be enough to get the ball started. And for you to recognize, wow, I get to take time for me. Like, what am I doing? Running and running and running and running and running all the time. So I love that. And I'm going to add that back into my schedule. Thank you very much, Shonagh. Continue.
It's a good place to pray also, where, talk to the spirits, talk to God. It's really, it's beautiful. So that I highly recommend in our very fast-paced, bizarre, surreal world right now. And then the third one is the very last transmission, which was on the menstrual blood. Because again, I'm just seeing how the feminine, it's like I thought we were kind of going somewhere, and now nope. She is just being cast out altogether. And so this is where we honor the time of menstruation, of the shedding, and collect the blood. And so when that came through, I started kind of change things around. I found this, I don't know if this company is still around. I hope they are. It was called lunapads.com, and they made these beautiful flannel menstrual pads, and they were so soft. And I totally obviously get it, because women are so go-go. They want tampons, and they want, this is all about convenience and efficiency and everything else. It's the world we're in. And this was very different deal. And I actually had a bowl about this size, and it had stars and a moon on it. I was like, well, how perfect. This is my moon bowl. And so I filled it with a little bit of water. And then when I would have a blood-soaked pad, then I would just, squeeze it out. So the blood was mixed with water, but, and I would have that for a couple of days. And then I would pour it onto the garden, onto where the flowers were going, my roses, my, all of that, peonies, etc. And it's incredibly good for the soil, for the plants. It's got a lot to it. And so it will help the earth, but it was also a way of giving back to the mother. And so we are raised to think in this culture, ew, that's gross. I mean, this is just how far we've fallen from this deep appreciation of the body, of its functions, and this very important time. And I wrote in the book about how I'd never taken birth control before, but I think, what was I, in my 40s, early 40s, I started using an IUD, which, oh my God, I swore I would never ever do that, because I don't think it's a good idea to mess with your hormones. But anyway, there I was. And I was so excited, because I've always been very athletic, and I was running long distance now. And the doctor had said, well, you probably won't menstruate if you're, as athletic as you are. And I was like, awesome, good. And I didn't for 3 years. And then I write about what happened in the book, and I started menstruating. And then I realized this, because I knew, I was like, this is not good. This is not okay. I need to start experiencing this again. And then when I did, I thought, okay, this is a gift, because I'm whatever I was, 44, 45 or something. I don't know that much longer. So I'm going to really honor this process. So, and there's a beautiful book called Her Blood is Gold by Lara Owen, which is also probably 14 or 15 years old. It's a beautiful book about honoring the menstrual cycle. Again, we've just been so led, like the Pied Piper, away from nature and her cycles, which includes that of our body. Like, it bums me out when I hear men refer to their private parts as my junk. I'm like, what? That is not junk, my brother. That is not junk. Like, and I get this is sort of casual lingo, whatever, but I'm like, you got to understand what you're saying about your biology. No, I mean, I just think people are just so incredible and have so much more than they even realize, especially now, because we're in a very reductionist construct. And this is worldwide. It's not just in the West, it's everywhere, and yet there's so much more to us. And so this honoring of the body to me feels foundational, but an honoring of the body with the understanding that there's light in every single cell. We're light beings, really, and this needs cleanup in the mind as well, like the whole thing, physical body, everything. But when we start sort of honoring and watching our thoughts and honoring our physicality, be careful about what we put in our body and how we take care of it, things change in very beautiful ways.
For those that don't have a cycle anymore, would you recommend, I had an idea. What about vagina steaming?
Oh yeah. Veggie steam. Yeah.
Yeah. My box is sitting right over there. And I was thinking about, should I put it away? Cause I haven't been using it. And I'm like, no, and I have a period, but I'm just saying, but I want to use it now. Like this is.
I used to see this wonderful woman in when I was living in Seattle who had trained under Rosita Arvigo. So I would get the Maya abdominal massage, and then I would do a vag steam, and you'd sit on this little bench with, a little cutout. And then she put this pot of steaming herbs. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So yes, of course, I recommend that. Now it's also understood. I mean, I'm 60, I'm long done with that. But it's understood that we're holding the wisdom blood inside. And when I was working with Miguel Angel, he told me there was a ritual that had been developed, and it was called the Mayan fire priestess ritual. And you had to be 52 and not a day before. You don't get to do it before that. In other words, there was an honoring of age, of elderhood, of all of these cycles. And I talk about in the book also with regard to menstruation. No one celebrated that with me. I was just handed what I was handed, and, Irish Catholic, forget it. Like it wasn't really discussed. And I tried to do more of a sort of honoring and celebration with my girls, but, even that, like a lot of these adolescent girls are like, no, we're not talking about that, So we do our best with this, but again, it's just the suchness of where we're at right now. We're really, I don't see us ascending really at this point, but we're where we're at. So we, one by one, as we bring more of this honoring, I think more women than we would even realize are craving this.
Well, I know they need it. Whether they are ready for it and are willing to do it is a different story, because it becomes more and more the dysfunction and disconnection of our power, of our womb, of our femininity, more and more and more and more, because of the pace at which information is, for the way the world is. But that doesn't mean that pockets of the world and that we can be in a frequency that isn't of that. But it's not celebrated and it's not culturally supported. And that's where you have to sort of be that black sheep that decides that you're going to do this for yourself because you love and are committed to yourself, or because you're in a crisis and you recognize that this crisis has been created because of the disconnection and the disassociation from the power and the magic of what you have and what you are. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because there's so many people and we just want to go into the medical idea of it all. And we want to go, and it's like, hold on, stop. No, like I can think of anyone, even myself included, who had, really tough periods. But I also know that if I go back and think about that time, my whole life, I felt like a weirdo black sheep person that nobody understood, because I was asking questions at a young age that no one could answer, or them thinking, what are you talking about? What do you, so this has been me feeling disconnected from the world from a very young age. So I'm sure the anger in my uterus came out through, and then definitely the fibroid thing was a lack of creativity and sexual expression in my marriage and in my life. And I didn't even realize I worked for myself. I'm like, what are you talking about? Lack of creativity. I write books, I make up programs. I have all the room in the world to do whatever I want creative wise. And then it wasn't until that I had moved on and that, had its own crisis. And then I was manifested my partner. And then I realized, oh no, I did not feel safe to be me. I didn't feel safe to express what was inside of me because it would mean that I would challenge my relationship, or I would challenge the people around me to disown me, to disconnect with me, to not love me, to not accept me. So I kept that all very quiet. And that was why my uterus was filled with fibroids, because it was that combination of not feeling safe on many levels, not feeling embraced. And I wasn't embracing myself either. I didn't know that because I negotiated in that relationship that I would only play as far out as I felt someone else would accept of me. And then when I got sort of the new, like, spread your wings and go as far as you can go, it was like, wow. Like, then I really realized that how tight and how controlled I did it myself, I felt. And I wanted to start this conversation with my community. Maybe we'll continue it on the Releasing the Goddess Within, which is a solo show, but like a diary show, but maybe we'll continue it there because I think this is so needed. And I was bummed when I couldn't have my ladies buy your book immediately when I asked, but so of course I go to Shonagh and I'm like, hi, can I interview? And can you please put your book up on Kindle so I can have my community buy it because they can't get it. And I don't know what else to do because I can't read it to them. I want them to own it and hold it in their hands, or at least have it on their Kindle so they can refer back to it over the course of time. So thank you for reaching back out and for agreeing to let me promote the book and have people buy it from you, and being willing to revisit releasing it.
Of course. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, really. Very, very appreciate your enthusiasm, and thank you so much.
Well, this is about healing and people's pain, women's pain, men's pain. I'm not just, those of you that are listening, that are still listening, if you're a man and you're still listening, bravo to you. Because we've had a lot of menstrual cycle conversation, but it might give you insight into your wife, into your mother, into your daughter. And in terms of some of the frustration, anger that they may hold that causes their cramps, that causes their dysfunction in the lower body. And this might be a way to sort of introduce them into a new energy about all of this. So I know you're doing a lot of you're doing mostly retreats right now, and you've written some other books. So let's just go through your other books. Talk about your podcast. We'll send them where to go. Everybody can go to shonaghhome.org to buy the book, as well as see everything else she's got. But let's just talk about it for a minute.
Yes. And when you do go on shonaghhome.org, it doesn't say store above. You have to hit one of, I think it says about Shonagh, and a couple more things come down. So you'll see store there. So I'm sorry that's kind of hidden, but that's just sort of how it is right now. But in any case, yes. So I do one-on-one retreats. I'm in my 9th year of doing that. And so people fly in from all over, and they arrive Sunday afternoon and they leave Friday morning. And it's very intimate, very deep psycho-spiritual work. I've been a last resort for some people with this work. It's really the work of my heart. I love it. I love the one-on-one. I love that intimacy. They're in my home, so it's not a clinical setting or formal retreat space setting. This is in the home, so we can both really kind of let our hair down and go there. And so my work is Jungian inspired, but I'm not a Jungian analyst. And I work with cards. I work with the I Ching. I work with my own psychic ability. We do a lot of delving. I work with some of nature's offerings. We'll just say that. And it's very powerful. And so that's my main thing. And then I do sessions as well with people. There's a lot of follow up and continuation of the work in that way. So that is my main thing. And then I wrote a book, as I mentioned earlier, called Love and Spirit Medicine, which chronicles my first year of what became 12 months in a row of these monthly mushroom journeys, because I don't drink alcohol. I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I don't smoke pot. I have this very sort of clean lifestyle, very careful what I put in my body. but I knew I was called to those mushrooms. I tried ayahuasca, tried that a few times, but it came to me, it's not my medicine. It's just not my medicine. The mushrooms were a calling. And I realized after my first experience, this is a portal, and this is an ancient teacher, and it doesn't care a fig what the rules of the day are. It's, there's nothing politically correct about, no, this is ancient intelligence. And there is a lot to be gleaned. It's not for everyone. At the same time, there's a lot of very glowing documentaries on all of this, but you can have really difficult experiences. And I have lots of stories of, people who have contacted me with that, and trying to kind of put the pieces back together. And then it can also be, deeply mystical, and it can also be cleanup. Like you go into a journey and all that stuff comes up. So it's really important to have someone with you who can assist, be there for you. So Love and Spirit Medicine is about that. And it's what I refer to as a raw and vulnerable woman's telling. I go through the demise of my marriage. And then that's when I was working with the mushrooms. So it sent me into a dark night of the soul. I mean, it's the most pivotal year of my entire life, I must say. And I'm where I'm at now, thanks to the mushroom. It's just changed my life in such amazing ways. I wrote another book called Honeybee Wisdom, Modern Melissa Speaks. And so it's not a how-to on beekeeping, because I've been stewarding bees for quite some time, a number of years. And so it goes into all that. And then I have a book. What has happened over the course of the years of working with the mushroom is I work with the fairy. I work with the she, S-I-D-H-E. That's the Irish word for fairy. I'm Scottish Irish. I've really embraced my roots thanks to the mushroom. And so I channel on the mushroom and beyond now, but they speak through me in perfect rhyme. So when people go on themushroomsapprentice.com, you can hit transmissions. I put a few of those to music and video imagery, and they're just beautiful. Like, I don't write like that, and it just pours through, and I'm not going, what rhymes? No, I speak the way I speak, and it just comes through, and then it's done. So Poetic Whispers from the Green Realms is actually, I'm working with my publisher on that now. We're changing some things and adding some things, so that will be available, I'm sure, by next spring. So yeah.
Links will be in the show notes for her site, which has all of these different things on it for you to explore. And I'd love to read the next book and have you back if you're willing.
I would love it. I would love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. You're definitely a kindred spirit.
Well, it's divine timing, and it couldn't have been this conversation. We could have had a good one 10 years ago, but we're having a better one now. And I think it's, because of where I've come, where you've come, and again, divine timing. So thank you, Shonagh. I appreciate you taking the time so quickly when I reached out, because I was like, I need you right now. I need this for my group. And I definitely invite everyone to buy the book and to buy the other books. But ladies, literally, okay, get the book, give it to your daughters, or buy it for your daughters. I know it's not a paperback right now, but if it happens to become in the future, definitely buy that. But get your Kindle versions, print it up, or if you want to, and otherwise just really take into consideration and be with that you're more powerful than you allow yourselves to be. And that's the message of this show today. For me, is that our feminine power is already within us, but we are so cut off from it because of the lives that we live and the world that we're in. And I want to invite you back into your power. And I want you to use this book to help you start to get there. So thank you, Shonagh.
Thank you so much.